Justice is one of humanity's oldest and most debated concepts. Societies across time have asked whether justice is meant to ensure fairness, maintain order, or exact revenge for wrongdoing. From Hammurabi's code to modern judicial systems, justice has evolved yet remained central to human governance. Philosophers, writers, and religious leaders have offered differing visions of what constitutes just behavior. Plato viewed justice as societal harmony, where each part of society fulfills its proper role. Aristotle distinguished between corrective justice, which remedies harm, and distributive justice, which allocates resources fairly. Literature often reflects moral tensions. Dostoevsky's Crime and Punishment explores guilt, conscience, and legal consequences. Shakespeare frequently explores revenge and forgiveness, illustrating human struggles with fairness. Religious traditions, such as Christianity, Islam, and Hinduism, provide ethical frameworks for understanding right and wrong. Christianity emphasizes mercy, forgiveness, and reconciliation alongside moral accountability. Islam promotes balance, fairness, and proportional retribution. Hinduism stresses dharma, the moral duty guiding actions in alignment with cosmic order. Modern thinkers like Michael Sandel focus on fairness in democratic societies, emphasizing ethical reasoning in policy and law. Edward Rubin explores the moral complexity of capital punishment. Jared Diamond examines historical and social influences on law and justice. Susan Wolfe considers ethical responsibility through philosophical and religious lenses. Justice is therefore multidimensional, blending law, ethics, and societal norms. The concept influences politics, community, and personal morality alike. By exploring these perspectives, we begin to understand why justice is so compelling and so difficult to define. Ultimately, justice is both a societal mechanism and a moral responsibility, shaped by human decisions at every level. Defining justice is challenging because it operates across multiple domains: law, morality, society, and individual behavior. At its essence, justice balances competing interests and seeks to uphold moral norms. Plato argued in the Republic that justice is each societal element performing its proper function, creating harmony. Aristotle distinguished corrective justice, which remedies wrongs, and distributive justice, which allocates benefits fairly. Michael Sandel modernizes this perspective, focusing on fairness and equity in contemporary democratic societies. Justice can be retributive, focusing on punishment, or restorative, emphasizing reconciliation and repair. Edward Rubin, in The Death of Justice, examines capital punishment as a test of ethical application. Literature provides context. Dostoevsky's Crime and Punishment illustrates inner moral reckoning, while Shakespeare dramatizes human revenge and forgiveness. Religion also frames justice differently. Christianity couples justice with mercy and moral transformation. Islam emphasizes adl, maintaining societal balance while promoting forgiveness. Hinduism teaches dharma, where moral duty governs ethical behavior. Social norms and culture influence what is seen as just or unjust. Justice evolves over time, adapting to historical and societal contexts. Philosophical reflection helps assess whether laws align with moral principles. Ethical dilemmas arise when law, fairness, and societal expectations conflict. Contemporary debates, such as capital punishment or systemic bias, test justice in practice. Understanding these frameworks clarifies tensions between punishment, fairness, and moral duty. Justice is not only codified in laws, but also expressed through moral reasoning, cultural norms, and ethical reflection. By appreciating these nuances, we can engage more critically with questions of fairness and societal responsibility. Ultimately, justice involves both societal structure and personal ethical reflection, shaping individual and collective behavior. Retributive justice is one of the oldest forms of legal and moral reasoning. Its core principle is that wrongdoing must be punished proportionally to restore balance. Hammurabi's code exemplifies the eye for an eye principle, where penalties match offenses. Retribution also serves a societal purpose, deterring future wrongdoing and signaling moral accountability. Kantian philosophy argues that punishment respects rational autonomy by holding individuals accountable for their choices. Literary explorations, such as Dostoevsky's Crime and Punishment, illustrate the psychological consequences of wrongdoing and the moral weight of punishment. Capital punishment is one of the most controversial applications of retributive justice. Edward Rubin's The Death of Justice examines ethical tensions surrounding the death penalty, questioning whether legal retribution aligns with morality. Critics argue that harsh punishment can perpetuate cycles of vengeance rather than deliver true justice. Religions offer varying perspectives. Judaism prescribes measured consequences, Christianity emphasizes moral transformation, and Islam balances proportional retribution with forgiveness. Retributive justice often raises ethical dilemmas in cases of excessive punishment or societal bias. Modern courts attempt to calibrate punishments according to severity and circumstance. Historical examples, such as public executions, illustrate the dangers of vengeance overshadowing fairness. Contemporary debates continue to question whether retribution alone satisfies ethical obligations. Literature, philosophy, and religion converge to explore these tensions. Understanding the balance between punishment and fairness is crucial for legal systems. Justice in practice requires thoughtful reflection on moral and societal consequences. Retribution must be tempered by ethical reasoning and awareness of systemic inequalities. Ultimately, retributive justice seeks to uphold societal order while navigating complex moral terrain. Restorative justice focuses on repairing harm rather than exacting punishment. Its goal is to restore relationships between victims, offenders, and the community. Indigenous practices, such as Maori reconciliation rituals, emphasize dialogue, accountability, and collective responsibility. Philosophers like John Rawls argue that justice requires fairness to all affected parties, not just legal retribution. Literary works demonstrate restorative principles. For example, Shakespeare's The Tempest shows reconciliation as a path to moral restoration. Religious teachings also inform restorative justice. Buddhism emphasizes moral rehabilitation, Christianity promotes forgiveness, and Islam encourages reconciliation alongside fair retribution. Edward Rubin critiques overly punitive systems, highlighting how restorative approaches can reduce harm and foster societal healing. Susan Wolf's The Ethics of Justice stresses moral responsibility, suggesting that true justice requires reflection on ethical consequences. Restorative justice challenges the notion that punishment alone ensures societal order. Programs like victim-offender mediation illustrate the practical application of these principles. Restorative justice can be applied in schools, criminal justice, and community settings, emphasizing healing over vengeance. It addresses underlying causes of crime, including social inequality and moral failure. By prioritizing dialogue, restorative justice fosters empathy and ethical understanding. It aligns with religious and philosophical teachings that value compassion alongside fairness. Critics argue that restorative justice may not always satisfy victims' desire for retribution. However, it often reduces recidivism and strengthens social cohesion. Historical examples, such as post-apartheid South Africa's Truth and Reconciliation Commission, show its transformative potential. Literature, philosophy, and religious ethics converge to support a holistic approach to justice. Understanding restorative justice broadens our conception of fairness beyond punishment alone. By incorporating these practices, societies can foster accountability, healing, and ethical reflection simultaneously. Philosophers have shaped our understanding of justice for millennia. Plato, in the Republic, views justice as societal harmony, achieved when each class fulfills its proper function. Aristotle distinguishes between corrective justice, which remedies harm, and distributive justice, which allocates benefits according to merit. Michael Sandel emphasizes moral reasoning and fairness in modern democratic societies. Edward Rubin examines the ethical and legal complexities of capital punishment, highlighting dilemmas that retributive systems face. Susan Wolf analyzes moral responsibility through philosophical and religious frameworks, illustrating the tension between duty and compassion. John Rawls advocates for fairness as the foundation of justice, emphasizing equality of opportunity and ethical deliberation. Nietzsche critiques revenge-driven justice, suggesting it undermines moral development. Philosophers also question whether laws should strictly enforce fairness or consider broader societal consequences. Historical applications, such as Hammurabi's Code, reveal attempts to systematize punishment ethically. Literature complements philosophical reasoning, offering narratives that illustrate moral dilemmas. Dostoevsky explores guilt and conscience in Crime and Punishment. Shakespeare dramatizes conflicts between law, vengeance, and ethical responsibility. Contemporary philosophers argue for integrating restorative and retributive models, balancing fairness with rehabilitation. Religion frequently intersects with philosophy in defining justice. Christianity emphasizes mercy and moral transformation. Islam prioritizes proportionality and societal balance. Hinduism stresses dharma, ethical duty, and moral order. Philosophical reasoning guides lawmaking, policy decisions, and personal ethical reflection. Justice in practice requires critical engagement with these theoretical frameworks. Ethical reasoning ensures legal and societal systems are aligned with human moral intuition. Ultimately, philosophy provides the tools to navigate justice's complexities, informing both personal and societal choices. Literature provides concrete insight into justice and morality. Dostoevsky's Crime and Punishment explores guilt, conscience, and the psychological impact of wrongdoing. Shakespeare's works frequently illustrate vengeance, mercy, and the complexities of human behavior. Modern novels like To Kill a Mockingbird examine societal injustice and bias, emphasizing fairness and empathy. Literature allows readers to explore moral dilemmas in context, observing the consequences of ethical and unethical actions. Jared Diamond, in Guns, Germs, and Steel, highlights how historical and environmental factors shaped societal structures, including systems of law and justice. Edward Rubin examines the ethical challenges of capital punishment, illustrating how literature and law intersect in debates over morality. Susan Wolf's The Ethics of Justice frames justice in both philosophical and religious terms, providing insight into ethical decision-making. Stories often challenge societal norms, encouraging reflection on fairness and accountability. Characters navigate conflicts that mirror real-world ethical dilemmas. Literary explorations demonstrate that justice is not simply legal enforcement, but involves human morality and social responsibility. These works highlight recurring themes of fairness, vengeance, and reconciliation across cultures and eras. They provide ethical case studies for reflection, discussion, and education. Literature also illustrates consequences of systemic injustice, offering cautionary tales. By combining philosophical, religious, and literary perspectives, we gain a holistic understanding of justice. Stories engage emotions, fostering empathy and moral reasoning. They encourage us to question whether justice is truly achieved through punishment or restoration. Literature emphasizes that justice is a human endeavor, informed by culture, society, and morality. Ultimately, fiction bridges theory and practice, showing justice in action and highlighting the human consequences of ethical decisions. Christianity frames justice through the lens of mercy and moral responsibility. Jesus teaches forgiveness, even toward one's enemies, emphasizing that justice is more than punishment. The parable of the Good Samaritan illustrates that moral duty and ethical action can extend beyond legal obligations. Milton's Paradise Lost explores divine justice and human morality, illustrating consequences of ethical failure. Christian ethics encourage balancing accountability with compassion, suggesting that justice without mercy can be morally incomplete. In capital punishment debates, many Christian scholars argue for restraint, emphasizing restorative over retributive approaches. Literature and philosophy intersect with Christian ethics, showing that forgiveness can coexist with societal accountability. Plato and Aristotle's ideas on fairness and moral duty align with Christian moral reasoning in emphasizing ethical decision-making. Michael Sandel's work on justice supports fairness and moral reflection in civic life, paralleling Christian ideals. Restorative justice practices echo Christian teachings by encouraging reconciliation and moral repair. Edward Rubin's The Death of Justice provides a legal and ethical lens, critiquing punishment that lacks moral consideration. Susan Wolf's The Ethics of Justice integrates religious frameworks with philosophical reasoning, emphasizing ethical obligations in human interactions. Christianity emphasizes conscience and moral reflection as central to justice. Ethical dilemmas, such as forgiveness versus punishment, are recurring themes in Christian moral thought. Historical practices of justice in Christian societies often balanced law with moral education. Theological writings illustrate the tension between divine justice and human law. Christian perspectives reinforce that justice is a moral endeavor, not only a legal one. Mercy, compassion, and fairness remain essential for ethical justice. By understanding Christian teachings, we see that justice includes both moral accountability and opportunities for redemption. Integrating these principles allows societies and individuals to pursue justice that respects both law and human morality. Islam emphasizes adl, the principle of justice as fairness and balance in both personal and societal conduct. The Quran repeatedly calls for justice in societal dealings and the application of law, requiring impartiality. Islam prescribes proportional punishment, ensuring that retribution does not exceed the harm committed. Forgiveness and reconciliation are highly valued alongside legal enforcement. Islamic jurisprudence balances ethical, spiritual, and social considerations when evaluating wrongdoing. Philosophers like Al-Farabi and Averroes discuss justice as a means of achieving societal harmony and moral order. Restorative justice aligns with Islamic principles, emphasizing mediation and accountability. Capital punishment is permitted in some interpretations but is regulated by strict ethical constraints, reflecting a balance between societal protection and moral responsibility. Literature and historical texts illustrate these principles in action, providing guidance for contemporary applications. Philosophical reasoning and religious ethics converge to ensure that justice serves society while remaining morally accountable. Modern debates in Islamic societies include reconciling traditional legal frameworks with ethical human rights considerations. Islamic teachings highlight that justice requires both fairness and ethical deliberation. Harm reduction and restoration of societal balance are key goals. Ethical reflection ensures that justice serves the common good, rather than personal vengeance. Islamic principles encourage equitable treatment across different social and economic classes. Religion emphasizes that laws alone cannot guarantee justice. Moral and spiritual guidance is necessary. Education and community engagement play a role in promoting justice according to Islamic ethics. By combining religious guidance with philosophical reasoning, societies can create systems of justice that respect both morality and law. Understanding Islamic perspectives illuminates the global diversity in approaches to fairness, accountability, and reconciliation. Ethical and legal harmony remains a cornerstone of Islamic approaches to justice, demonstrating that fairness, mercy, and proportionality are interdependent. Hinduism frames justice through dharma, the moral and ethical duty guiding human behavior. Dharma emphasizes righteousness, ethical responsibility, and societal harmony. Karma reinforces accountability, where actions have moral and spiritual consequences beyond immediate punishment. Texts like the Mahabharata explore complex ethical dilemmas and the tension between duty, fairness, and revenge. Hindu teachings highlight that justice must align with moral principles rather than solely legal rules. Restorative approaches to wrongdoing reflect the emphasis on moral education and ethical rehabilitation. Literature and philosophy often intersect with these religious principles, illustrating the consequences of unjust actions. Philosophers argue that a just society requires adherence to dharma alongside equitable laws. Susan Wolf's The Ethics of Justice emphasizes moral reflection as essential for ethical legal systems, resonating with Hindu thought. Historical practices in Hindu societies included moral guidance, mediation, and community involvement alongside formal legal structures. Ethical dilemmas, such as punishment versus reconciliation, are central to Hindu perspectives on justice. Karma operates as a natural corrective, reinforcing accountability without necessitating human vengeance. Dharma requires individuals to act ethically, even when society fails to enforce fairness. Moral education and spiritual reflection are crucial components of justice. Literary examples, including epics and classical texts, provide narratives for ethical reasoning. Philosophical frameworks complement religious teachings, offering a holistic understanding of justice. Fairness, social duty, and ethical reasoning are integrated in Hindu approaches. The balance between individual responsibility and societal order is central to maintaining justice. By studying Hindu perspectives, we gain insight into justice as a combination of morality, spirituality, and societal fairness. Ultimately, justice in Hinduism emphasizes ethical behavior, moral duty, and long-term societal harmony. Justice cannot rely solely on laws. Morality gives meaning and ethical depth to legal frameworks. Ethical reasoning ensures that punishments are fair, measured, and aligned with societal values. Capital punishment exemplifies the tension between law and morality. Edward Rubin's The Death of Justice critically examines whether retributive punishment, including the death penalty, satisfies ethical standards. Philosophers like John Rawls argue that fairness requires consideration of all affected parties. Michael Sandel emphasizes the importance of moral deliberation in democratic societies. Literature, such as Dostoevsky's Crime and Punishment, explores guilt, conscience, and ethical accountability. Religious teachings provide ethical guidance, Christianity emphasizes mercy, Islam balances proportionality with reconciliation, and Hinduism stresses dharma and ethical duty. Historical and contemporary examples demonstrate that laws alone cannot prevent injustice or resolve moral dilemmas. Capital punishment debates illustrate how legal measures can conflict with moral imperatives. Restorative justice models highlight the value of dialogue, reconciliation, and community involvement. Ethical frameworks inform legal reforms and public policy, ensuring that justice serves humanity rather than vengeance. Moral reflection is crucial in evaluating fairness, equity, and societal impact. Literature, philosophy, and religious thought converge to offer holistic guidance. Ethical reasoning complements legal structures, creating a balanced approach to justice. Justice requires critical thinking, empathy, and awareness of social and cultural contexts. Societies must consider long-term consequences when enforcing laws. Ultimately, morality and ethical reflection are essential for achieving justice that is fair, equitable, and humane. By integrating law with moral guidance, societies can ensure justice that respects human dignity. Fairness and vengeance represent two contrasting motivations behind justice. Fairness seeks impartiality, equity, and social harmony, while vengeance focuses on retribution and emotional satisfaction. Philosophers such as Nietzsche caution against vengeance-driven justice, arguing it can perpetuate moral decay and cycles of retaliation. Retributive justice, when unchecked, risks devolving into personal or societal revenge rather than measured punishment. Capital punishment debates exemplify this tension, as some view execution as morally justified retribution, while others consider it ethically problematic. Literature demonstrates this struggle. Shakespeare's Hamlet and Macbeth explore revenge's destructive consequences. Dostoevsky's narratives show the psychological burden of vengeance on the human soul. Religious traditions often promote fairness over vengeance. Christianity emphasizes forgiveness, Islam prescribes proportionality, and Hinduism encourages dharma and moral duty. Edward Rubin examines ethical and legal implications of punitive measures, questioning whether retribution aligns with moral principles. Susan Wolfe discusses moral responsibility, emphasizing the importance of fairness and reflection. Historical legal codes, such as Hammurabi's, illustrate attempts to balance punishment and proportionality. Restorative justice provides an alternative, focusing on repairing harm and reconciliation rather than retribution. Philosophical frameworks like Rawls's theory of justice prioritize equity, fairness, and social cohesion. Literature, philosophy, and religion converge to demonstrate that justice divorced from morality risks injustice. Societal and legal structures must ensure fairness while acknowledging human emotions. Ethical reflection guides the application of justice, preventing vengeance from dominating decision-making. Justice is therefore not simply a legal concept, but a moral and social one. Understanding fairness versus vengeance helps societies navigate ethical dilemmas and maintain social harmony. By reflecting on historical, philosophical, and religious perspectives, we see that true justice balances accountability with compassion. Justice in practice is often complex and nuanced, far beyond abstract philosophical or religious ideals. Courts codify laws, but judges and juries interpret them, bringing ethical and moral reasoning into legal decisions. Restorative programs, alternative sentencing, and rehabilitation illustrate efforts to balance punishment with societal repair. Capital punishment is a critical point of debate, testing ethical, legal, and moral frameworks. Edward Rubin's The Death of Justice analyzes whether extreme punitive measures align with ethical principles. Susan Wolf emphasizes moral responsibility in evaluating legal decisions, underscoring the need for reflective judgment. Jared Diamond's Guns, Germs, and Steel shows how historical societal structures shape legal and justice systems. Literature, including Crime and Punishment, highlights the human consequences of legal decisions. Philosophical perspectives, from Plato to Sandel, guide the interpretation of justice in real-world contexts. Religious teachings influence law through moral guidance, ethical expectations, and communal values. Ethical dilemmas arise in cases of systemic bias, inequality, and societal pressures. Effective justice requires balancing individual accountability with societal fairness. Laws alone cannot guarantee ethical outcomes. Moral reflection is necessary. Public policy decisions, such as sentencing guidelines or criminal justice reform, reflect these tensions. Community involvement in restorative programs demonstrates practical applications of ethical principles. Legal systems must navigate historical, social, and cultural contexts to achieve fairness. Judicial discretion and ethical oversight ensure proportionality and balance. Justice in practice illustrates the intersection of philosophy, literature, religion, and law. Societies strive to enforce rules while upholding moral integrity and protecting human dignity. By examining justice in practice, we see the importance of integrating fairness, ethical reflection, and societal responsibility. Ethical dilemmas expose the tension between law, morality, and justice. Situations such as capital punishment, wrongful convictions, and systemic bias challenge our understanding of fairness. Literature, such as Victor Hugo's Les Miserables, explores conflicts between legal obligation and moral conscience. Philosophers argue that ethical reflection is necessary to ensure justice does not harm vulnerable populations. Edward Rubin examines legal and moral questions surrounding retributive measures. Susan Wolf emphasizes the ethical responsibility of decision-makers in evaluating the consequences of punishment. Historical examples illustrate how laws applied without moral consideration can perpetuate injustice. Religious teachings guide ethical reflection. Christianity emphasizes forgiveness. Islam prescribes balance and proportionality. Hinduism stresses dharma and moral duty. Contemporary debates consider social equity, prison reform, and the rights of marginalized communities. Restorative justice provides alternatives that emphasize repair and accountability over vengeance. Ethical dilemmas require balancing competing interests, values, and moral principles. Philosophical reasoning helps navigate situations where law and morality conflict. Literature provides moral narratives that deepen understanding of justice's human consequences. Societies must consider long-term impacts and societal cohesion. Moral education fosters critical thinking and empathy, preparing individuals to make fair decisions. Ethical reasoning ensures that punishment aligns with principles of proportionality and social benefit. Justice is tested when legal codes conflict with moral intuition or societal values. Understanding these dilemmas reinforces the need for thoughtful reflection in policy and law. By integrating philosophical, literary, and religious perspectives, ethical dilemmas become opportunities for learning and societal improvement. Ultimately, ethical reflection ensures that justice is fair, humane, and morally responsible. Contemporary debates over justice highlight the evolving nature of fairness, ethics, and legal systems. Social movements advocate for racial, gender, and economic equity, challenging traditional interpretations of law. Issues like capital punishment, environmental justice, and human rights illustrate the complexities of applying justice in diverse societies. Literature, philosophy, and religion provide guidance in navigating these debates. Edward Rubin critiques extreme punitive systems, urging moral consideration in policy-making. Jared Diamond explores how historical and societal structures shape contemporary legal frameworks. Susan Wolfe emphasizes ethical reflection in evaluating policies affecting vulnerable populations. Philosophers like Sandel argue that democratic deliberation ensures justice is applied equitably. Literature highlights consequences of systemic injustice, encouraging empathy and moral awareness. Religious frameworks continue to guide ethical decision-making in complex societal issues. Restorative justice programs exemplify practical responses to contemporary challenges. Public debate, protest, and advocacy are essential for evolving legal systems. Laws must adapt to societal change, technological advances, and emerging ethical questions. Ethical reasoning ensures that reforms maintain fairness while protecting societal cohesion. Balancing punitive and restorative approaches remains central to effective justice. Historical lessons inform contemporary policy, highlighting successes and failures. Social and moral responsibility intersect in public discourse on justice. Justice in modern societies requires constant evaluation, dialogue, and reflection. Ethical, legal, and moral perspectives converge to guide equitable solutions. Understanding contemporary debates equips individuals to engage thoughtfully in shaping just societies. These resources provide comprehensive perspectives on justice. Books like Plato's The Republic examine the philosophical foundations of fairness and societal order. Dostoevsky's Crime and Punishment explores the moral consequences of human actions. Sandel's Justice, What's the Right Thing to Do? Applies philosophical reasoning to modern dilemmas. Edward Rubin's The Death of Justice critiques capital punishment and ethical application of law. Jared Diamond's Guns, Germs, and Steel examines historical and societal factors shaping justice. Susan Wolfe's The Ethics of Justice integrates religious and philosophical ethics for moral guidance. Podcasts provide accessible discussion and reflection on justice, morality, and philosophy. Websites such as the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy offer authoritative, detailed analysis of philosophical and ethical topics. The BBC Ethics Guide provides accessible guidance on moral reasoning. The Internet Encyclopedia of Philosophy offers extensive information on philosophical concepts of justice. Engaging with these resources deepens understanding of law, morality, and social responsibility. They allow readers and listeners to explore justice through multiple lenses. Each resource addresses unique aspects: historical, philosophical, literary, or religious. Combining these perspectives helps evaluate legal and ethical systems critically. Reflection on these works supports personal and societal moral development. Understanding justice requires integrating theory, practice, and ethical reasoning. These materials highlight contemporary and historical debates on fairness, vengeance, and restitution. By exploring these resources, viewers can cultivate informed perspectives on justice. Ethical, philosophical, and literary analysis strengthens the capacity to navigate complex societal issues. They offer practical and theoretical tools for engaging with justice thoughtfully. Ultimately, these resources guide the pursuit of fairness, moral responsibility, and social harmony. Justice is a multifaceted concept encompassing fairness, moral responsibility, retribution, and restoration. Philosophy, literature, and religion all contribute to understanding its principles and applications. Historical and contemporary examples demonstrate the complexity of applying justice ethically and effectively. Capital punishment debates illustrate tensions between law, morality, and societal expectations. Restorative justice shows the importance of reconciliation, dialogue, and community accountability. Literary works, from Dostoevsky to Shakespeare, illuminate the human consequences of ethical decisions. Philosophical frameworks, from Plato to Sandel, guide reasoning about fairness, societal structures, and ethical duties. Religious teachings provide moral foundations that balance law with compassion. Edward Rubin emphasizes the importance of ethical deliberation in applying punitive measures. Jared Diamond highlights historical and societal factors that influence justice systems. Susan Wolfe stresses moral responsibility as central to ethical evaluation. Contemporary debates underscore that justice evolves with society, requiring critical reflection. Ethical reasoning ensures that laws and policies respect human dignity and equity. Literature offers narratives that humanize legal principles and moral dilemmas. Philosophical thought helps navigate complex situations where law, morality, and human emotion intersect. Restorative approaches demonstrate practical applications that emphasize healing alongside accountability. Justice is both a societal mechanism and a personal moral responsibility. By engaging with multiple perspectives, individuals can critically assess fairness and ethical obligations. Ultimately, justice requires balancing law, morality, compassion, and societal needs. Each choice we make in promoting fairness or addressing wrongdoing shapes our communities, highlighting the enduring importance of understanding justice in all its complexity.